This is the JWN Podcast. I'm Joseph Nienstedt, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we have Marcus Cripps. Marcus is an artist and now a comic book author who just put out his first comic, Catbite, The Ghost of Gambling.
Yes, sir. What's up, dude?
I am extremely excited to talk to you. I haven't been able to hang out with you in a long time. I kind of fell off the art scene as far as going to figure drawing and things like that. I don't know if have you still been keeping up with figure drawing?
Man, I haven't. Funny story with that is me and Amber quit going. You remember?
Well, if you want to get into that right now, we can definitely get into it. No, it doesn't have to be like a mean thing. It's just,
yeah.
All right, here's what I will tell you from my perspective of how I met you and Amber. And for the people listening, Amber and Marcus are a couple. And I believe you guys met through the figure drawing. If
we did.
Okay. And and they've been together for, what, 3-4 years now? 5 years?
4 going on 5.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. It feels like a lifetime, but it feels like it just started.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because when you don't have a relationship that's stressful, time goes by so quickly, and you keep going like, wait, has it been what? You know?
Yeah, dude. But I couldn't be happier, man. She's awesome.
I can obviously you're still together. It was obvious, by the way, when you two were like, I'm going to sound like an old man. When you guys were courting, that it was like, these two people like are just two peas in a pod. So when I first met you guys, I think Amber was just came out of the military. She had really short hair.
Yeah.
And she was a really talented artist. She was also modeling.
Yep.
And you were a really talented artist. You were not modeling, as far as I know.
I was not.
I missed that class. Model, but I do remember one of the times I was like, something's weird here. Was Amber was modeling, and he who shall not be named again. I should probably beep him out.
Perfect.
Yeah. So he set up his drawing equipment like right in front of her as she was modeling. It was so uncomfortably weird. I just remember like, okay, this is what we're dealing with. And he would say comments. It was weird because you didn't know how to read him. You didn't know when he was joking or if he was being creepy.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like you guys definitely got the latter end of the feelings from him.
Yeah.
So,
man, what's crazy is with how creepy he was, he is actually the one that brought me and Amber together. So I'm like, we avoid him, but I have a lot to thank him for. Yeah. When it comes to that.
He's an odd character. He definitely reminds me of some people I knew from New York. He's kind of got a very, very inappropriate sense of humor.
Yeah.
And it can be very uncomfortable when you're in a situation where you have like a nude model right in front of you. He would make comments. But if you notice, there were some of the other people, and he's also, by the way, a little bit older. And by a little bit, I mean retired. He's like of that age where, you know, all fucks have gone out the window for him. He does not care. But there were some other people that were in that class that were women that kind of shared his same sense of humor. So there was definitely a little bit of a dark sense of humor going in that kind of crew of people.
Totally, yeah.
So that's how I met you guys. And I knew right off the bat you guys would be like, I don't want to act like, because it's so easy to say in hindsight, like, I knew you guys would make it. Yeah. No, it was just like, oh, these two, God. Yeah, the hardest thing is probably figuring out which one of you guys like is more talented at at drawing because you're
Oh,
both.
dude,
It's ridiculous, like how.
hands down, Amber all the way.
Well, she was. Did she go to? She went to college for it during this.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah. She got a degree in fine arts. She graduated last year, and and now she's tattooing. Or
I know. I'm so impressed. Because I know. All right. Let me. We're getting into like deep woods of like weird stuff that connects us. But I remember. I don't know. I don't think Jason Eisenberg, who owns Holy City Tattooing Collective. He's an amazing tattooist. And I believe before Amber, he had a person that was also working in the studio that became an apprentice, who I actually got one of her first legal tattoos on my foot.
what?
Oh God! It was
Wow.
also one.
How'd that
It
turn
was it was one of the most painful tattoos I've ever gotten, and I let her do 2 on my foot because I was just, I was trying to be a friend to Jason, and I liked her at the time, and she did not leave on the best of terms, and I thought for sure that Jason would never take on another apprentice again. So, yeah, so that says a lot about Amber's ability that he took her on as an apprentice, and now she's actually tattooing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
So now that we've cleared that weirdness out, not even that weird, but it's interesting to me when that whole thing went down, when that other apprentice was parted ways with that studio. I remember, I think I told you about like, hey, there's an opening at a tattoo shop. You guys should go check it out. I think I told you to go check it out.
Dude, so check this out. So before Holy City, Jason and Jessica always pick on me about this. Amber used to have a apprenticeship at some shop in Somerville. And then the owner of that just like kicked everybody out. I think they had like 2 apprentices, and he just like shut the door. So then the next day I was sitting at work and I was like, man, I got to do something for Amber, just because like whenever I was 18, I had an apprenticeship and that same exact thing happened to me. So I was like emailing shop after shop to be like, hey, are you looking for an apprentice? My girlfriend, this long drawn out story happened. And Jason ended up being one of them. I never met Jason in my life, never talked to him. And he emailed me back. And he's like, hey man, 2 things. One, I think that your girlfriend should be handling this for herself. 2, you're a great guy for trying to do the right thing for her. And then ever since then, dude, every time I go to the shop, he brings it up, and I always feel so bad just because I'm like, oh, man. Like,
Jason is by far the sweetest asshole ever.
yes, dude, that is perfect.
He's one of those people that, like, if you can peel back that layer of just sarcasm and just brutal honesty, like, you can't find a nicer guy.
Dude, he's the best. He's like mine and Amber's second dad, which I'm sure that's like everybody,
Yeah, he takes care of people. He's somebody. He's the kind of friend that that if he's the one that you would call if you had a body to get rid of.
Yeah, dude, totally.
He's that kind of friend. All right, so let's talk about you. We've talked about some stuff of how we've gotten to know each other and all that. I'd like to know, where did you grow up?
Nice. So I grew up about an hour and a half away from Charleston, in Sumter, South Carolina. Fairly small town. It's nothing to be like super proud of. I went to high school at Crestwood High School, which is a predominantly black high school. There really wasn't many white people at the school, or let alone like the town, which, for me, growing up, all my friends were black, would go over their house. I would call their mom my mom. You know what I mean? And it was awesome, man. It was like that all the time. And then, so with my family, my mom and dad, they were cool. My dad was a truck driver, so he really wasn't around very much.
We have something in common, by the way.
What's that?
My father is a truck driver. He didn't raise me though, but he was.
Oh, gotcha.
And so he really wasn't around. But he still is a truck driver. I don't really interact with him. But yeah, that's interesting to know that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So you know all about it, man. It was. I probably saw my dad once every 3 months.
Wow.
And then, yeah, dude, and it was like he would come home, and like his first night home, we would all go out, have a good time as a family, and then like he would be home for 4 days and just like sleep the whole time. So it was like, growing up, I really had no like father figure, or like no father-son bonding experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I really regret a lot of the time, because I'm like, man, I have a lot of friends that have kids, and I'm like, they have the best relationship I've ever seen. And I'm like, dude, I wish I had that shit. But at the same time, I feel like it's kind of made me who I am today, because I'm just like,
So
anybody I talk to.
You didn't have any brothers or sisters, just you?
I had a sister. So I was adopted, and she was. My mom got custody of my sister. So she technically wasn't my sister. Yeah, it was basically my mom just adopted some kids, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Can we cuss in here?
Of course.
Cussing cool. Okay. Yeah, man. So I'm like, by all means, I'm like, adoption is awesome. So she pretty much adopted both of us, but we really didn't bond very well. Like the age difference was pretty big. And then, as I was reaching like 17, 18, about to move out of the house, she was like just about to become a teenager, and she was just like all over the place, just like stealing all my shit all the time. Just, yeah. So my sister, our relationship isn't the greatest. I love her, but she's one of the only people that I will immediately see, and no matter if I'm in a great mood, I'll get mad instantly. Which sucks to say.
No, I understand. It's weird. My brother and I are 4 years apart, and my kids, they're 4 years apart, and 4 years is literally like a generation. Mm-hmm. They do not like my kids don't have a bad relationship. They're not close. They don't. It's not like they sit and hang out and talk to each other. They're very separate people. And I kind of, I don't really have a relationship with my brother either. It's a tough situation. Like just 4 years. That's it. Which, my wife is almost 4 years younger than me, and we couldn't be closer. But like growing up, that's a rough. 3 to 4 years can get like really distant.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man, it was.
So that's really interesting. So you had, a sister you're not too close with. You had a father who's a truck driver. You have a mom who is basically like Mother Teresa adopting children. That's you have all the makings of a creative person. It's like somebody figured out the correct things. So when did you like discover art or just being creative? Like what kind of turned you?
Honestly, man, like as a teenager, I didn't draw, didn't do anything. I skateboarded 24/7. You know, I would, like, in high school, I would, you know, skip school about every other day just to go skate. And it was a blast for me. So I stopped doing that around junior year, and I basically started drawing to impress girls. You know, I would write them a letter with like this big, like, super cool drawing in the letter, and just to be like, you know, show them that I could draw or attempt to draw, and try to impress them, and, you know, see if that led anywhere. So basically, my drawing career started by trying to impress girls, pretty much.
I mean, I think of how many musicians started for that very reason.
Right.
You know, like it's definitely at that age, you know, anything you can do to give yourself an in to impress somebody, whoever you're attracted to, like it's definitely it's how many great works of art were basically created just to impress somebody else, like
Dude.
that they were in love with, you know.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So it was something that like kind of grew on you through that, or was it like was it just like a switch that went off?
yeah, man, it really was just kind of like a light bulb coming on. You know, it was like I would do it more and more, and I realized how much I loved it. You know, I was just drawing like cartoon characters, things like that. But I eventually started drawing more and more to where I realized that the town that I was in had a tattoo shop. So just like probably everybody in the world, they're like, oh, I could draw a little bit. Let me become a tattoo artist, which, you know, looking back on it now, I'm like, dumb idea on my part, but, but, you know, I went for it, and they liked my portfolio enough to bring me in, you know? So I was a tattoo apprentice for about 4 months before the shop closed down.
Wow.
Yeah, so
just enough to like really start feeling like, okay, I'm getting this, and then boom, carpet's pulled out from underneath you.
Yeah.
Man, so at that point did you feel like I'm just gonna quit and do something else, or like how did you get to Charleston from all that?
So after the tattoo apprenticeship failed, I started dating this one girl. Moved in with her and her dad, and probably lived with her about a year. And then I started working for this like industrial company and we would travel all over the place. So we traveled to Charleston quite a bit, and I realized like how much I liked coming to Charleston. So eventually, you know, we just took a trip down one day, found a townhouse to move into, got approved. Then, you know, next month moved to Charleston. So then, you know, moved here, made all that stuff happen, and then I came across, you know, like comic books, you know, comic book stores, stuff like that, and then that's whenever, like, you know, how that was kind of what planted the seed for me.
Took it to a different level, yeah.
Totally, yeah. Like becoming the artist that I am today, you know, it's like I kind of pushed the tattoo aspect, you know, to the side, and I'm like, I really don't like I didn't have a lot of fun drawing that kind of subject matter anymore, or I really didn't want to be like a part of that anymore. I was like, because comics, you know, consumed me pretty much. I was like, you know, in awe of just everything that I was seeing, like going to conventions, going to comic book stores, things like that. And, you know, it just made me who I am today.
We've got some awesome comic book stores here, which is surprising because, you know, there's not. Charleston's a weird place. It's this awesome place, and we really do have a lot of things going on if you peel back the layers and find them. but like the convention we have here is probably one of the most accessible conventions because you can have these really amazing artists and like you don't have to wait online to talk to them. You can just walk right up to them. It's fantastic. So, all right. So this brings me to Cat Bite, which I got mine in the mail today, and so I'm gonna give my uneducated description of what Cat Bite is. Okay,
Sounds good.
I wouldn't call it a comic book, but it is comics. You know, it's written in the style of a comic book, but it's not like a traditional comic book. It's not a graphic novel because it's, you know, it's short like a comic book as far as the length, but it's the size and the look of it. It's black and white. It's got, you know, really like a premium feel to it. It's not like newspaper feeling comic book style stuff. It's definitely a nice weighted paper. It's beautifully printed. It almost kind of feels like a what do you call it? A Moleskine style notebook, like that size, one of those smaller Moleskine notebooks. And I would almost call it like a serial graphic novel if I had to come up with like a way to describe it. And it's like the whole idea of making a Western involving cats and other animals is it's perfect. I love it. I love it. The artwork is amazing. The story is definitely just, it's so fun. You know, I got to the last page. I was like, oh, damn it. He's got to make another one now.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, totally.
All right. So tell me what your vision, like, did I come close in my description as to what you were trying to do? And then what is, tell me all about it. Tell me how it started and where it's going.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So first thing, whenever you said it was like a Moleskine notebook, what's funny is the people that printed it, Justin Ryan Books, they specify in all they print is notebooks, like Moleskine notebooks. So this was the first comic they've ever printed. Like they printed like zines here and there.
Yeah.
But I reached out to them and I was like, hey man, have you ever printed a comic? They're like, we haven't, but we've been looking to print like 5x7 notebooks. And I was like, well, I'm looking to print my book at 5x7. If you'd like to, you know, try printing this. And they're like, dude, that sounds fucking awesome. So I spent all quarantine. Well, not all quarantine. I would say maybe about a week during this downtime to pretty much polish Cat Bite because at Captain's I had like an ash can, basically just like go to Staples, print off like, you know, like raw pages, nothing really edited, and just make a book out of it, make a, you know, a zine, like pretty much.
Yeah,
totally. So I spent a week, you know, during the quarantine to polish pages, make it look like a legit book. Then I sent it to him. And dude, this guy knocked it out in no time, like 3 days. And I couldn't be happier with it, man. But going back to the origin of Cat Bite, have you heard of Inktober?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So let's explain it to anyone who's not familiar with what Inktober is.
Absolutely. You want to? You want me to?
I'm trying to remember the name of the artist. What's her name that started it? Is she Italian or something like that? No.
So I know that there's a couple different Inktober things throughout October. So there's Inktober, Drawloween, and something like that. The guy that created Inktober his name is Jake Parker.
Yes. Okay. I was thinking of I can't remember who I was thinking of. That
is it Mabs? Is
yes.
that who you're thinking of?
Yes.
Yeah?
That's who I kind of was introduced to it through.
Gotcha.
Through her Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Jake Parker, so he kind of started this in.
Yep. So it's during the month of October, just every day you draw a piece of artwork using ink. Just because like the world is pretty much transitioning to a digital world whenever it comes to creating art. So he wanted to, you know, take a month of the year, throughout the year to basically explore with different mediums, like try different ink pens, things like that, and just create anything.
Yeah.
So he'll come out with a prompt list of like a daily prompt list that you could draw each day.
Yeah.
So
So like Monday will be like draw a bat, and then
totally, yeah.
everybody who's taking part of it will use the right hashtag and draw their bat, and it's fun if you follow artists on Instagram or any other social media. It's a fun time of year because you get to see everyone's take on that. Some people will just do a quick like napkin sketch. Other people will make like a crazy work of art. You could tell when
Yeah,
somebody's
dude.
like truly inspired for a certain subject. But it's definitely it's an exciting thing to follow in October.
Yeah, man, it's probably as an artist, probably one of my favorite times of the year. Just because, like you said, you get to see everybody's different take on everything, and you just get to explore with stuff that you just wanted to try. Like I'll go to Arts and Craftsman, and I'll just buy so many like different types of paper, so many different types of pens, because this month is just really a time for you to experiment. Nobody's pressuring you to like create a masterpiece. You're just being loose, having fun with it, and that's what I love about it, man.
Yeah, you're not. It's not like you're going to impress a client with it. It's not something where somebody will be like, "Can you change this ear and put it over here?" No, it's just
Yeah,
fun.
right.
It's purely fun. Yeah. I've never partaken in it. I've one of those things like maybe I'll do it this year. No,
Dude.
it's a commitment.
Yeah, man. It is. If you stick with it, it's rewarding, but man, it is torture.
I,
It's like doing 1 week of it totally easy, but following through that whole entire month drives you crazy. So not this past October, the one before, I I was doing a book. I was drawing 31 comic book villains, and I made that into a book as well. Um, and dude, like there was so much crap happening in my neighborhood. Like the whole neighborhood would have like a power outage, like almost every other day for some reason. So I'd be drawing and I would just lose all power. So me and Amber would be sitting in my art room and she would just like be watching me draw. Then the power would go out and I was so committed to it to where I just like lit like 4 candles and just had them on my table. And I was just drawing, like doing Inktober by candlelight. And like, you got to be dedicated, man.
oh yeah, the closest I can come to that is years ago. I did a 365-day project with photography where I took a picture every
Wow.
day,
Yeah.
and it started getting nuts. Because some days you get towards the end of the day and you're like, oh, I didn't take a picture today, but you didn't want to you didn't want to just be dumb and be like, here's a doorknob.
Yeah, right.
You really wanted to have a purpose behind it, and you'd start one upping yourself each day. To the point by the time you got to the end of it, you were just like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to take a picture again. But the amount of stuff you learn in that process is undeniable. Like you
Yeah.
really do learn. When you think you've run out of ideas, or when you think that well is dry, somehow something will like just kind of wake you right back up.
Hmm.
So I'm imagining that's what you're kind of saying about Inktober, is that you really got like ideas just flowing after that or during that.
Yeah, man. Like, so during October, Inktober, ideas are just like coming to me like super, super easy. Just like day after day, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I'll draw this when I get home. Whenever I put my pen down on that 31st day and I just call it done, I literally have no creative juice at all. I'm drained for months. Like, I would say probably until February. Like, I just don't want to draw just because, like, it's just so much creative energy just, like, used up. And it's, you learn a lot of shit, but, like I said, it just uses up a whole lot of creative energy, man.
Well, this book looks like it looks like you've been doing this your whole life. Like it literally looks like it's one of those things where you're reading it and you're like, hey, wait, let me just take a look at this panel and see how much detail you put. Like, I'm looking at a scene right now where they're in a bar playing cards, and then you just look at the background and the like, I'm sitting there going, that's a lot of work for literally a panel that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1/5 of the page. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
And then you did that like for, comic books are definitely an underappreciated art form in the idea that the amount of work that goes into it and then the cost of them doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were to buy a print of just that panel, it would cost you anywhere from like $40 to on up. And you've got a whole book of this for $10. I mean,
$10.
It doesn't make any sense. It never works out properly for the art form, and the price don't make sense when you look at the actual work that goes into it.
Yeah, man. And that's something that blows my mind as well. Like, actual like comic book like publishers, things like that. Like, comic books some will go from, between $3 to 10. And it's just like so much work gets put into a comic book, and it's just like sold so cheap, which I understand, just because like they want to get these books into people's hands. But I'm like, as an artist, it's just like, dude, you spend so much time just hunched over, like your back kills you after every page, and so much sweat and tears into creating a book. And
that's just the, like, for the final, bro. You have to storyboard it. You've got to come up with a story. You got to draw it. You got to ink it. There's so many layers of it. It's truly one of the lesser appreciated art forms in the mainstream. Although, think about every major Hollywood movie now is based off of a comic book.
Yes.
So I guess maybe one day you'll be doing cameos in, some of your characters on the big screen, and you'll you'll be like, the guy driving a pickup truck and going, hey.
Man, if they made a movie about like cowboy cats just fighting, like having a gunfight in the frontier, dude, I would freak out.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the greatest comic book back in, like, what was it, the 80s? Late 80s, man. Early 90s. That comic book was amazing because it was like really like gritty and like violent, and they cursed and stuff. And then it turned into like it turned into the goofiest cartoon, and then like just tongue-in-cheek movies and like toys and the whole thing. So don't discount that you might see a cartoon on, like, whatever version of Netflix is on in however many years, and you'll see cats going, meowdy, partner.
Dude, I would love that.
I think I do think you have something with this whole storyline, and just, I was thinking about it. I read it today. I got the mail came. I was like, perfect. I'm going to read this while I'm eating my lunch. And I read it and I just was like, dude, how perfect is it to make cats as in a, like an old Western type motif? Because
Yeah.
cats in general are such like their morality is so questionable, and like the you know the they're killers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they're definitely loners. They're killers. They're just they're the boss. You know, so making them like vigilante cowboys going out trying to avenge some murder and find some treasure.
Right.
And yeah, it's pretty awesome. The idea though of cats being Western characters, I don't know if it's been done before. Has anyone has there been anything similar as far as like cats playing cowboys?
Man, I haven't heard or seen anything. I know that there's a there's a Facebook group called "This Cat Is Honky Tonky" or something like that, and
That's the
and
closest you could find.
yeah, dude, that's literally it. And it's like people will put tiny little cowboy hats on their cats, and I'm like, dude, it's so freaking adorable. So like me and Amber used to freak out over this page. And then just, one day, like getting back to the origin of Catbite, I was looking at the prompt list from Inktober. And then, because he releases it like 3 days beforehand or something like that. And I was sitting there with Amber and I'm like, what if we did a Western story? Because I love like spaghetti Westerns, like Clint Eastwood movies, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Amber loves cats with a passion. So she was like, well, what if instead of them being people, we just make them cats and just give them like cat attributes and stuff like that? And I was like, I've never heard of shit like that. So let's do it, So just about like we'd have a meeting about it like every weekend. We'd go to the Daily, get a coffee, get some breakfast, and just sit in there for like an hour or 2 hours and just brainstorm really. And Catboy started off as a silent comic. It was just going to be like you look at the pictures and you just form your own story as to what's happening. And then during the quarantine, I was like, well, I want to give this a story. Actually like give it some dialogue. Give all these cats some characters or some character. And yeah, man, and that's how it came to be.
That's awesome.
So, yeah,
it would have been funny if the comic book just all the speech bubbles just said meow.
Dude, you should see some of the original pages. A lot of dialogue bubbles literally say meow.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, dude.
Well, I'm excited for you. What do you think? By the way, because you and Amber both put in a ton of work into this, and as I spoiled, it's definitely going to keep going. This is just the first in a series, which I'm excited about because you know how this is all going to play out. You're going to make more and more and more, and then you're going to have a compilation one where it's going to be nicely bound and like. I see how this is all going to. I can see in the future where this will end up, as far as in the realm of being in a book form. But what do you think if, like, the young teenage you who's starting to draw pictures to impress girls? What if you showed him this and he opens up, young Marcus opens it up and sees drawn by Marcus Cripps, written by Marcus Cripps and Amber Vasquez, and like understanding that like, hey, dude, this is like why you're doing this. You've found the love of your life and you're making art together. Like, what do you think that kid would do?
Man.
Or say?
Probably wouldn't believe it because, at the time, I was just drawing dumb shit. It was like, I look back at my art from back then and it's like horrible crap. So like to see how far along that I've come and just like have created my first comic book, man, I think he would be excited. You know, he would be super proud. And, you know, to know that, you know, he created it with the person that he, you know, fell in love with, that he wants to spend the rest of his life with, dude, you know, you can't ask for anything better than that. You know, it's like definitely a win-win for me, you know? So,
all right, I'm going to ask you a couple questions that are, just kind of like, you don't have to go too deep. You don't have to think too far into them. So if you could add one subject to grade school that should be taught, what do you think that would be?
Man, I would add finances.
That some things never change. I think when I was a kid, same thing. It was like, you know, you get that first bank account, and then you find out like, wait, yesterday I had money in it, and then this thing just came out. Like, where did?
Yeah, dude.
How does this happen? 3 days later, something came out. I don't remember because no one ever taught me how to balance my checkbook or how to keep track of spending or hidden fees or anything like. Yeah, and that's just the basic stuff. But if people learned out how to like invest money and save money and make money grow, like from an early age, you start to think, is this by design? Do they not want people to know how to make money off of money? Like, do they not want people to know how to save it?
It blows my mind, dude. It's like, you know, I didn't know shit about credit, how credit worked, anything like that, or, you know, best ways to save money or anything. So it's like, you know, as a teenager, right off the bat, I fucked my credit up. You know, so I've been like,
who doesn't?
Working. Yeah, dude, right?
Who doesn't? Unless they have a mentor that put them on the right path. Yeah.
Oh, man. People need that mentor, dude. I'm like, I wish I can go back to my, like, past self and just be like, don't do any of the shit that you're about to do because it's going to screw you over.
Dude, my first credit card came when I was getting my, when I was doing my schedule for college. So I show up to the school to like sort out my classes, and there's a booth like, oh, sign up with Discover. And they'd give a credit card to anybody. And I was like, what's this? Oh, we'll sign up and we'll give you like a free t-shirt or something dumb, something so stupid. I was like, free? Okay. Yeah. And that was my first credit card. Like, oh, I got swindled for a free t-shirt.
That's
yeah. And you could use that if somebody were to tell you, hey, listen, like keep the balance at this percentage and blah, 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 blah. You know, and you'll build up your credit. It'd be fantastic. No, you're like, oh, $300 limit? Boom, gone the next day.
Dude, that's it, man. I was in the military. I joined the Marines, and I ended up getting some kind of military credit card whenever I was in. And I saw the limit that I had on there, and dude, I literally blew it on any and everything. You know, I would at the time I still skated, so I bought 10 complete skateboards, which would be what?
A few $100 a piece, right?
Yeah, dude, exactly. You know, so a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And, you know, bought a gigantic TV, freaking surround sound system just for my room at my mom's house. You know, and it's shit that I didn't need.
And they didn't sit there and go and your mom didn't think well, where is this coming from?
Right. Yeah, man, it was so dumb. I'm so mad at my younger self. But
you can't be at this point, because you got through it. You made it through, and absolutely. I think most of us have gone through that weird trying to figure out financial stuff, especially if you grow up in a situation where you don't have a lot while you're growing up. You kind of start compensating. You're like, well, I always had the Bobo shoes growing up. Now I'm just going to buy nonstop of the nicest shoes I can afford. You know? And that kind of mentality happens. And you still battle it even in adulthood, but All right, here's another crazy question. So, if you were to put yourself on the Principal Vernon from the Breakfast Club scale, how would you identify yourself when you were in high school? Were you the brain, the athlete, the basket case, the princess, or the criminal?
Ouch. Man, probably. Man, that's tough. I would say it started off as criminal and then transitioned into brain. And I can explain. Freshman and sophomore year, I would smoke pot every fucking day and go skip school to go skate every day. Junior year, I became a Christian, and through all that I became a youth leader, and that just kind of like straightened me up, I guess, as far as like wanting to like educate myself more. So like junior and senior year, I just like started picking my grades back up and just like focusing on school. Yeah, so I would say criminal, and then brain.
That's extremely interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think for if my relation to that would probably be the opposite. Like
Wow.
I went in there like all gung ho, and then by the time junior year came, I discovered pot and drinking and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
you done good. So it seems like the Jesus done you good in that situation.
Totally.
All right. So, do you have a book, movie, song, food, or any other work of art that should be required for people to consume right now? Besides
Yeah,
cat
man.
bite.
Yeah, besides cat bite. I got two, actually.
All right.
As far as book goes, it's a comic book. It's called Wonder Woman Dead Earth. It's super empowering for, the times that we're in right now. It's like, once I read this thing, it instantly became my favorite comic. 'Cause it just relates to all the crazy shit that we're dealing with. If you want to read it in that way, because that is just how my brain has been wired this past couple weeks.
Definitely.
And then as far as like the second one would be a TV show, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Now, I have never watched that. I think it's one of those things that like probably my son would have been the right age for me to like latch onto it if he was watching it, except he didn't watch any TV. Like
Wow.
he never got into TV. He went from like not being able to function as a human being, being a baby to playing video games. Like he made that jump immediately. He learned how to read at a very early age because he wanted to know what was being said on the not the comic books, on the video games. So he has a TV in his room. It's never been turned on. It's like, okay, I said it. So, I even set up like, all right, well, I'll set up like, a PlayStation in there for you since you like video games. Nope. He only likes computer games. So he doesn't even play his PlayStation.
Shit.
He's so like, yeah, but my daughter, on the other hand, when she was growing up, the cartoons that she got into, I got to kind of take in, like the SpongeBob and Phineas and Ferb was probably my favorite of all those. But Avatar: The Last Airbender, it was just not on the radar of like things to consume through my children. You know what I'm saying? So I got to check it out. I got to take you up on that.
It's great. It's only 4 seasons, based on the elements. And, he's just trying to go around trying to find like a master to teach him how to learn these elements to defeat the Fire Lord, pretty much. Like there's this guy that's trying to, take over the earth, just by, he wants to create a massive fire nation, and the Avatar is like, I'm not having that. So, you know, it's just this whole story of just like amazing, beautiful storytelling, like mind blowing, like character development. It's great, dude. And
so you're saying it's a cartoon, but not specifically for children. It's more has more depth than say a SpongeBob.
oh yeah, totally.
Which, by the way, SpongeBob rules. So I'm not going to even knock SpongeBob.
Then I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
Whoa, say what you're going to say. Say what you're going to say.
So you and probably everybody listening is probably going to hate my guts after this.
Nah,
I hate SpongeBob.
He's a different type of character because he's like the definition of amiable.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can see why people might not like it, and it's all very nonsensical. And the one thing I could probably get behind where it would be and I worked during the height of SpongeBob. I was working at MTV Networks, and the merchandising of that show was, I mean, I'm sure Gene Simmons was like, holy shit, that's how you freaking kill your brand. That's how you do it. You can just put it on everything.
Yeah.
You know, so what's the reason why you hate it, though?
Man, it's just like, it's just mind numbing to me. It's like, I feel like I'd watch it and I just feel so much stupider. Like, I got mad respect for it, like with how well the show is done. But it's just like, for me, I'm like, dude, like the voice acting is just over the top annoying to me. And it's just like, I can't handle it. But I'm not hating on people that love it. Amber loves it. Jason loves it. And I love them.
Yeah.
So, and I love you.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things you can understand why it's a bit much there. You know, it's definitely as silly as it gets. That's a fair assessment. I survived my daughter growing up and being obsessed with like the Teletubbies. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those things where you thought you were high watching it.
Dude,
like, you would get wrapped in, you'd be sitting there with your kid, and that would come on, and you would literally time travel. You would be watching this, and you'd forget that you were a human being and that you exist on the earth. You're like, what the hell am I watching? And am I being hypnotized right now?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, children's programming can be really effective at taking you into weird places or making you very angry.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So we're getting close to the end here. Is there anybody that inspires you that you might want to hear on this podcast?
Man, I know that she was supposed to be here, but if you can talk to Amber, she'd probably be way more entertaining than me and more educational. So I would recommend Amber because she's awesome.
I will. You know what? It would be great to talk to her. I did reach out to her when and of course the things in Charleston have gotten real dark compared to the way they were as in reference to this pandemic. We're one of the hot spots in the world right now. Mm-hmm. So I was looking forward to getting one of her flowers tattooed, that kind of like her initial assignment, I guess.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to it, and I was like, all right, we'll do that. And I'm like, I think we're going to wait all that kind of stuff for a while.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while before I get a tattoo.
Yeah, man. Have you been going out or anything?
Yeah. So actually, right before we recorded this, I had recorded a kind of in-between podcast, kind of just me BSing, talking about like what's going on in my life. So I won't go into it too far, but for the sake of the people who might have listened to it before this comes out. But yeah, the coronavirus has kind of affected my family and my company, the company I run. It's an IT company. We've been affected pretty hard so far with it. Nothing to like we're in any kind of, so far there's been no like physical threat. It's,
Yeah.
but, we've had to lock down our business again. We were going out and taking care of customers and doing, work for them on site. We were trying to minimize it as much as possible, but people weren't wearing their mask. We were wearing our masks. They weren't. One of my employees caught it. It's spread throughout our building where we have there's other tenants in there. So the building's been shut down for the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so I've been getting tested. My employees and I have been getting tested pretty much weekly at this point. And I've been in the clear. Like I just got results back yesterday, that, I'm still negative, but on Friday night, my daughter, her car broke down and she spent the night here. Cause she's in college age. She lives on her own now. But she spent the night here, to deal with the car situation, and her job made her get tested, and she got a positive result on Saturday.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. After my wife had been driving her around, Friday night and Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So we just went and got tested again. We waited about 5 or 6 days, got tested again. Yesterday, yeah. We both got tested yesterday late afternoon. And the amount of cases are so high now, like the time to get results back has been pushed back. Now we've got to wait up to 7 days to find out.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's really stressful. So now that means I can't. It's another week that I really can't go out and deal with anybody. But so far we've been either asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. So my daughter has been fine. She's she's riddled with anxiety, but not. She's not showing any serious symptoms of the coronavirus to the point where she's in any kind of danger. Yeah. So it's been tough around here. I started this podcast thinking I set up my photo studio because I have a photo studio in that same building, and I set it up so I could make a podcast studio. And I had all of these interviews lined up to be in person, and it was just like so quickly within a day or two. Like I had people scheduled to come in. It was just like, nope, you can't come in. We have to do everything over the phone now.
Damn.
Yeah. So, and a lot of things have fell apart because of that. Some people don't want to do it over the phone. And I was very happy when I saw that you had this book coming out. I was like, oh, I want to talk to these guys. Let me get you on here. And I was very happy that you were able to make this happen, because it's, you try to launch this podcast and then all of a sudden, trying to get people to come on and it's stressful.
Yeah, I bet. Man, I was super happy whenever you reached out. This is literally my first ever podcast. So
yeah, my whole goal with this when I first thought about it, and I've kind of expanded it, was to talk to different creative types of people, and try to find the things that connect us, the things that we share in common. And so far, and then I expanded it out, as I was thinking about it, I was like, well, athletes share a lot of the same thing. Certain business people, teachers, things like that, people in different parts of creative industries that I never even thought about as being creative. And then I'm like, oh man, even like people who, brewers, beer brewers and distillers, that kind of thing. Like there's a lot of creativity that goes throughout different aspects of life. And if I can talk to people on that level of like what inspires them and what makes them happy, and definitely happy that you could join in on this, because you're like, I was dead serious. Like the fact that you shared with us the whole, being a kid and drawing to impress girls. It's so honest, because people might not want to admit that, when I was young and starting to play in a band, like you didn't want to tell people that. But if you were being honest, it's like, yeah, I wanted to impress somebody. Yeah. I wanted to get attention from this person, and I'm using this gift that I have to kind of show myself, and it's wonderful. And the fact that you met somebody awesome and that you're creating together, it's amazing. Simply amazing.
Yeah, man. It's I couldn't ask for anything better, man. It's like our house is just divided into, you know, upstairs I have like my own art studio. Downstairs Amber has her art studio. So it's just like anybody that comes over, they're just like blown away, you know. And it's just anytime we're creating together at the same time, it's, you know, it's awesome to, especially as a comic book artist, to just constantly have some sense and flow of creation going throughout the house, you know, because like if I'm not drawing anything, Amber's drawing something, then that inspires me, you know, and vice versa. So
yeah,
you know,
and you're both super talented. I'm so excited to see what you guys keep coming up with. And yeah, I'm excited to see what Amber does with a tattoo career as well. So that'll be interesting she's starting definitely at a terrible time to get started. But think of how good this experience will make her. You know?
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Like her, the first tattoo that she did, I bought a ton of Polaroids, to take some photos, and I was in the shop just taking pictures, and according to Amber, like I took like the perfect picture of just her tattooing herself and Jason watching her. The day that she was tattooing, was whenever the riots or like the protesting and like the riots and everything.
Oh yeah.
First started in Charleston. Like it was a Saturday.
I was downtown for that first march, that first protest, and I remember seeing her post the first tattoo she did on her leg of the flower.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh, here it goes, it's starting. That's it.
Yep. So like on the back of this Polaroid, she wrote first tattoo. During a global pandemic, as well as a massive worldwide protest. And it's like, man, what a time to start tattooing, you know?
Yeah.
Or like, what a time to just be doing anything, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
it's a test, and it's
yeah.
Think about how amazing it is that you have some way to express yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And to process what's going on. There's so many different things. We're getting hit on all fronts: health, social issues, financial issues. We're just getting bombarded, and it's like you have this thing that no matter what, no one's going to be able to take away your voice and your ability to express yourself. And you guys are definitely people that are going to make some waves.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, dude.
I think that's a good way to end it.
Oh, yeah, dude. Absolutely.
All right, dude.
For sure.
I'm going to say thank you very much. And what's your website?
So you can buy the book at catbite.bigcartel.com. Or if you just want to check out my artwork, you can go to instagram.com/Marcus Cripps.
Excellent. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes. And
Nice.
I look forward to talking to you or Amber or both of you or just Amber. But I'm looking forward to, let's see what it's called. I've got it right here. I've got the comic book right here. Catbite, the Midnight Rider.
Yes, sir. That's the next one.
I can't wait, man. All right. Talk to you soon, brother.
All right, brother. See ya.